This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace.
Last year, I went through many different life changes. I needed to take a pause and examine how I was feeling in the inside to better show up for the ones who need me to be my best version of myself.
When you're navigating life's changes, Talkspace can help. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatry providers that you can access anytime, anywhere.
Living a busy life, navigating a long-distance relationship, becoming a first-step father, Talkspace made all of those journeys possible. I could speak with my therapist in the office. I could speak with my therapist in the comfort of my home. I was never alone.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Therapy by the Book, the show where we take your favorite fictional characters and ask what would it be like if they came to therapy. I'm William Haddad, and today our character client steps out of the deep past. Ayla, the indomitable prehistoric protagonist of Gene M. Auel's The Clan of the Cave Bear. Ayla's story begins like so. Picture a child of 5 years, small even for her people, standing on an earth still cooling from prehistory. Within moments, tragedy strikes in the form of a sudden and vicious earthquake, which rips Ayla's world apart, shaking loose not only the walls above her family cave, but every familiar voice inside it. By sundown, she is the only one left alive. Scarcely 10 pages into this novel gives us the brutal image of Ayla wandering naked and alone, days blurring into nights, as hunger gnaws at her insides, sun blisters her skin, and a ferocious cave lion's claws nearly finish what the earthquake began. Thousands of years before the word trauma has been invented, Ayla's nervous system is already writing it deep into her bones. The rescue that eventually saves her life also complicates it. A band of Neanderthals, the Clan, devotees of the cave bear, finds her half-conscious on a riverbank. Though they are another branch of the human tree, they see Ayla as something between freak and foundling. Too tall, bones too slender, ugly facial features. Within their sign language culture, the Mogur, or shaman, whose name is Kreb, and the clan's medicine woman, Isa, petition to keep this strange child. Ayla grows up in their hearth circle, learning poultices, herbal lore, and the heavy etiquette of clan gender rules. Yet every mirror she encounters, each curious glance, each whispered slur, serves to remind her she is not clan. A lot of this story revolves around identity. Auel lets us feel the ache of difference in small moments as well as the triumph in others. When Ayla invents a bold new technique with her sling, she demonstrates a brilliance born from her otherness. To quote, "No one told her it was impossible, so she taught herself to do it." Her precocious ingenuity is also a survival skill. If the world refuses to fit her, she will remake parts of it until they do. Now, here's why Ayla's background matters in therapy. We have examples of early chaotic loss. The earthquake and ensuing abandonment set the template for trauma symptoms such as hypervigilance and deep attachment wounds. We have outsider status. Living inside a society whose unspoken rule is, if you do not obey, you do not belong, greatly impacts Ayla's sense of worth and identity. Dual mentorship. Isa's affectionate care and Kreb's spiritual guidance form protective factors for Ayla, and these are both secure bases she can draw additional resilience from. And we have prehistoric environment. Carnivorous shadows and ice age winters keep Ayla's nervous system on a hair trigger. Safety, quote unquote, is a moving target, both psychologically and physically. In other words, Ayla arrives on our therapy couch with an intricate braid of trauma, survival instincts, and identity questions, all colored by a world that feels virtually alien to modern listeners. With these threads laid out, we can begin to explore this world she calls home, and how its dangers and wonders inform every psychological beat that follows. But first, listeners, I'd like you to take a breath and notice how the two versions of Ayla within the story resonate for you. There is the child who loses everything, yet keeps learning, and the young woman who won't stop reshaping stone and self to fit a future only she can imagine. Remember, that's the heart we'll meet in therapy. Now, nothing about the clan of the Cave Bear's members is quite human in the modern sense, yet they are still recognizable enough to be unsettling. Their language is one of hands and silence. Imagine holding an entire conversation without ever opening your mouth, or at least never more so than to mark the occasional grunt or name. Clan members speak through an intricate sign language so fluid it appears, quote, dance-like and elegant. It's punctuated by posture and micro-expressions, and the clan is capable of stacking nuance such as emotion, tense, who did what, all into a single sweeping gesture if they so choose. Lying, therefore, is virtually impossible. Your hands might claim a falsehood, but your shoulders would betray you. For Ayla, whose Cro-Magnon throat wants her to shape words, learning to think in motion rewires the very way she stores memories and feelings. The clan members' extraordinary tribal memory also serves as a collective hard drive of sorts. In a rather fascinating parallel, considering this book was published in 1980, the clan relies on a form of generational recall not all that dissimilar from our own virtual cloud technology today. Through a strange and somewhat instinctual process, each child is reminded of their ancestors' experiences until the old memory clicks in and, once learned, remains as fixed as bone. Their survival depends on that precision, but also comes at a price. While the clan of the Cave Bear excels at maintaining tradition, they falter at changing it. Jean Auel frames this cultural rigidity as both an extraordinary feat and a slow-moving extinction curse. There are also the clan's totems, or spirits, which serve as identity tags. Every clan member is given a totem by Kreb, the Mogur, at a certain age. A totem is a guardian animal spirit that both defines and limits them. That Ayla receives for her totem the cave lion, a predator no woman has ever been given, brands her twice over as outsider. Revered, yet unsettling. In therapy terms, her totem becomes both a resilience factor, a story she can lean on for courage, and a potential transference issue, since, if you'll forgive me, any talk of self could invite the lion into the room. The social hierarchy of the clan is all but carved into stone itself. The leader, Brun, sits at the apex. He is responsible for every hide-stitch detail of communal life. The Mogur, Kreb, the spiritual conduit, operates alongside, but outside, the day-to-day authority of Brun. The hunters earn status and extra meat through each successful kill in providing for the rest of the clan. The non-hunting males handle the clan's toolcraft and repairs. The medicine woman, Isa, holds a rare prestige as a healer, yet still bows to every male command. The other women keep hearth, gather plants and herbs, birth and rear children, and at the very bottom, the children themselves absorb all of this like weather. Gender roles in the clan are enforced with glacial weight. Men hunt, women obey. Dissent is not merely frowned upon, it is brutally silenced. Until Ayla's existence proves otherwise, and threatens to crack the social ice. In short, this is an environment that never lets the amygdala nap. Between frozen winds, short summers, cave lions, prehistoric hyenas, and mammoths, safety is provisional and anxiety adaptive. The clan's rules, however harsh, do offer predictability against this chaos. Ayla's Cro-Magnon creativity, by contrast, seeks possibility rather than certainty. It's important to keep in mind that each time she questions a taboo, such as speaking aloud, wielding a sling, or dreaming up a what-if, she is choosing plasticity over stone and incurring social punishment in response. Let's look at some key obstacles now of Ayla's story and how she responds. The clan's world may be carved in stone, but if so, then Ayla herself is a river flowing through that stone. She keeps on moving, and every rock must reckon with her. Even tiny gestures rewrite the rules. What begins as innocent body language, Ayla's easy grin, the way tears spill from her eyes when she's upset, all are akin to foreign birds in a silent forest. Clan members are trained to keep faces still, and emotion is signed, not shown. But every spontaneous smile Ayla makes is further proof that the old certainty is wrong. Perhaps there is more than one way to be human. Ayla is also a body on a different clock. By 8 years, most clan girls are deemed adults. However, Ayla's body remains in childhood until nearly 12. This late bloom torpedoes the communal schedule. Hunts, mate rights, even food allotments all revolve around predictable milestones. Suddenly, this millennia-old calendar has an exception, and in the clan's eyes, exceptions are dangerous because they suggest change might be survivable. The clan member who fears this change most acutely is the leader's son Braud, and as a result, his treatment of Ayla is especially cruel, worse than anyone else. Even Ayla's very thoughts leap beyond tradition. Her mind often travels to places that the clan can scarcely imagine. For instance, she wonders why spirits must be appeased in one precise order, or why women may not touch weapons, or whether stories can end another way. Only Kreb, whose shamanistic trances flirt with abstraction, senses the width of her horizon, and even he worries about the social ramifications she could trigger. Ayla meets clan rules with quiet rebellion throughout the course of the story. At one point, actually, when Ayla hears the cautionary fable of a hunter who abandoned his own clan, a parable meant to shame wanderlust, Ayla alone defends his choice, signing, "Perhaps he sought a better life for his people." Her remark is met with gasps because no one has ever questioned the tale's moral before. This moment, like others, plants a seed of doubt for the clan's future. Ayla's skill sets also refuse to stay in their lanes. Under Iza's tutelage, Ayla becomes a competent healer, while under Krebs she learns the ways of spirits. But she also teaches herself to hunt in secret. On the day that the clan leader Brun catches her practicing with her sling, she lets loose a double stone shot so deft that she, quote, radiated a self-confidence no clan woman had ever felt. That radiance terrifies the clan's hierarchy. If one woman can hunt, what other immovable stones might shift? And not even violence can silence her. Braud, the clan's future leader, who's the son of Brun and Ayla's tormentor, senses her threat of change long before he can name it. And in response, he bullies, beats, and even rapes her as she gets older. Acts all meant to shove her back into submissive silence. Reading the novel, I found it telling, in a world with so many other prehistoric dangers, that this is what appears to prove hardest of all for Ayla to endure. Yet endure she does. After one attack from Braud, she stands bleeding but unbroken and stares her abuser down. Her mind in that moment, "You can make me go away, but you can't make me die." In therapy, we might describe this as reclaiming agency where none is offered. In the end, Ayla's rebellion becomes a tribal crossroads of sorts. Every time she bends a taboo, the clan must decide whether to snap it back or let it grow. Some, like Kreb, glimpse usefulness in her innovations, but others fear the wrath of the spirits. Their tension rises until a final series of hardships, including Braud's ascension to the leadership, a failed hunt, and Kreb's declining health, forces a verdict. At the end of the novel, to preserve their equilibrium, the clan casts Ayla out as a living sacrifice to their stasis. Yet, she leaves with both her totem and her integrity intact. Outcast status hurts, but also liberates. She is now no longer bound by rules, traditions, or punishment anymore. The story closes on Ayla stepping out into open grasslands, scarred and split between grief and possibility. She has become an avatar of adaptation, marching away from tradition. Coming now to diagnosis, when we translate all of Ayla's silent gestures into modern clinical language, we arrive once again at complex PTSD. So, why complex? Well, as we've talked about before on the show, standard PTSD usually points to a single terrible event. And Ayla's life is a tapestry of them. She loses her family in an earthquake, she survives starvation and a cave lion mauling, then endures years of bullying and sexual assault inside the clan. Her trauma isn't a lightning strike, it's a decades-long hurricane. A couple core PTSD symptoms we can point to in Ayla throughout the story include intrusion, such as night terrors of collapsing rocks and the earthquake, or sudden flashbacks of the cave lion; avoidance and numbing, where there are periods where Ayla goes quiet inside, distancing from the memories that might jeopardize her standing or her sanity; negative mood and self-image. After the abuse with Braud first begins, Ayla goes through a very long period of depression and struggles with the repeated messages from all the clan members that she is ugly or spirit-touched. and these gradually evolve from self-doubt into persistent shame as Ayla matures. And finally, hyperarousal. Ayla, and most of the clan for that matter, startle easily at small noises, sleep light, keep their weapons within reach, and their bodies always brace for the next blow. Something to note is that at this point in time, pretty much everybody carried some degree of active trauma with them. It was as common as breathing. That was simply the world they lived in. However, ubiquity does not negate impact. Trauma still affects and reshapes the nervous system, whether or not a culture has language for it. And with our diagnosis in hand, we can now ask the question, what happens when Ayla comes to therapy? As her clinician, I begin with the language her body already speaks. Ayla arrives to our session fluent in gesture and silence, so my therapy style must join her there before inviting words. While I don't know the complex signs of the clan, I still pay attention to my own body language. Things like a relaxed posture, my palms held open in greeting, shoulders soft, gentle expression, all help to signal safety. From that base, I follow Ayla's lead. She may be willing to teach me some of the clan's signs or return to her native spoken language, but above all, I feel with her flexibility communicates respect. Before long, we decide it's best to take the session outside the cave. As the novel demonstrates, there's good reason to believe Ayla's cortisol levels often drop the instant she steps outdoors. Field sessions, hiking through hills or by the coast while we observe, reflect, and process memories allows nature to co-facilitate our treatment. Footfall rhythm helps regulate breathing, a useful coping tool for PTSD. Ayla might even use this outdoor time to show me medical herbs Isa taught her about, or practice her slingshot skills in a safe and supervised scenario. We anchor her treatment in identity work. Before tackling the trauma, I ask her, who is Ayla to Ayla? What qualities does she name? Which clan labels does she reject? Mapping this self-perception builds the scaffolding for all later interventions. We leverage her resilience and imagination. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, would feel abstract to the clan, but Ayla imagines such possibilities daily. We might help her reframe negative cognitions through narrative play. For example, I ask, if the cave lion were to speak to you, how would it describe the day you stood up to Browd? Retelling her trauma, especially in first person, helps return agency, something which I've often mentioned is essential to recovering from the loss of control that all trauma carries. Additional modalities might include yoga or somatic work to discharge the earthquake trauma imprints stored in the muscles. Internal family systems, letting the orphaned 5-year-old, the clan woman, and the future wanderer each have a voice. And art or guided imagery through Ayla's totem. Her cave lion will always be there to stand watch during trauma reprocessing. By treatment's end, we want Ayla to leave carrying a more coherent story of self than she arrived with. I believe that self-actualization in recognizing her true self will arm her with something far greater than any weapon. It will arm her with a narrative. Her narrative, which Ayla can carry with her to share, pass on, and keep hope and strength alive wherever she ends up next. Remember, this is only book 1 in the Earth's Children series. Ayla may yet stride back into this office with fresh wounds, but wider horizons. And when she does, we'll pick up the narrative we spun today. Because healing, like evolution, travels one season at a time. Well, that's a wrap for today's session. Thank you all for listening. Join me next time on Therapy by the Book for another journey. And until then, may the strength of your own totem remain ever at your side.